This is part 2 of my 2-part series, Important Elements You Need to Have on Your Website. If you haven't listened to part 1, go ahead and listen to that. There's some huge golden nuggets that you're going to get from that episode. Let's get into part 2.
This isn't just any podcast. This is your secret weapon for dominating the market.
This is the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast, and this is your host, Sean McMean.
Welcome to Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast. Again, this is Sean McMean. This is part 2 of our 2-part series, Important Elements You Need to Have on Your Website. In part 1, we talked about having your phone number top and presence of mind on not only mobile, but also the website. So the second element on that was reviews and certifications and form to call automation. Go back and listen to part 1 episode if you have not already listened to that. It talks about these important elements. This episode, what we're going to focus on is primarily pages and things that you need to have within your website there that are going to set you apart from your competition. These elements are, if you're just starting out, these elements are after that you're just starting out. These are elements that are important once you start getting into getting more jobs. And I got some crazy bird chirping around behind me, so not sure if you hear that, but anyway, today's episode is all about that next level of things you need to have on your website. If you're just starting out, these are not elements that are critically important. What I don't want you to think is, hey, you shouldn't be going out and building relationships. You should be sitting in front of a computer and building these things on your website. Do not do that. Go out and do the jobs. Network with people, build relationships, do those types of things. But these are important elements when you have some downtime or you're burning the midnight oil. You need to take a look at these elements or hire a company to work with you to take that off your plate once you're at that level. Now, let's get into it here. So the first element that you want to make sure you have on your website for today's episode that I commonly see missing on damage restoration and home service websites is pages for every service you offer. Way too often do I see that there's a service overview page and it goes down and talks about water damage, mold, fire damage, flood, even home remodeling and roofing and all of these other things on one single page. And this is a recipe for Google to figure out that, hey, you do home services, but you do a lot of everything. And you're not a specialist in one specific field, or it's just a kind of an overview page. And that's, you can absolutely start with that. But what you really want to do to get to that next level and compete with those larger companies that have been more established and more authority in Google's eyes is you want to have a page for every single service that you offer. And on that page, you want to talk about that service in depth. What elements encompass that service, right? So for instance, if you offer water damage restoration, you want to talk about common occurrences of water damage restoration. You want to talk about your process of water damage restoration. You want to talk about reasons you should hire a water damage restoration company. You want to talk about the certifications that you have and your experience in water damage restoration. All of those elements. And you cannot do that on a single page with all the other services that you offer. Now, again, do not just drop everything you're doing and go out and build all these pages on these service pages if you are not currently getting jobs, right? So this is, again, focus on what's gonna get you to that next level over time, right? So don't just drop everything and just say, oh, I need to build this amazing website. Yes, you do need to do that, but within reason. Do little by little. Think about it. If you're doing 5-6 services in the restoration side, you want to make sure you make it super clear that that you offer specific service and all elements of that offering of the service. And so have a page that talks about that on your website. Don't skimp on the content. Make sure you're not using ChatGPT to write that content for you. All this automation stuff out there. ChatGPT should be used as a guide maybe, but here's what I would do is I would sit down and write 4 or 5 bullets of the areas I want to cover, and take a look at your competition in the area that are on the first page of Google. What that will tell you is, number one, don't copy exactly what they're doing, but it'll tell you the similar type of content that Google is looking for in order to show you in that area. And this is going to be different for everybody depending on their specific area in the country, and the services that you offer. But the best practice for understanding what elements you should cover on that page is look what's already on page one of Google, and don't look at try not to look at the large franchises or the very multi-locational franchises. That could give you a starting point, but you want to look at other people at your level. If you are a large franchise, then go ahead and look at the large franchise and making sure you're covering those elements. But if you're an independent, you're never going to outrank that or show up higher than that. You're never going to show up higher out of the gate than that large, high authority website. So use it as a reference, but as a guide, look at companies that are similar in size to you, and that'll tell you what Google is favoring for you to show up on that top section there. So just put a pin in this one. Pages for every service that you offer, and be as detailed in that service as possible. Typically, this runs around 1,000 to 1,200 words. And then you need to make sure you have your title elements and your header elements on that page set up to say, this is water damage restoration, your company name, so on and so forth. So I won't go into all that detail right now, but just make sure you have a page for every service you offer. The next thing I want to talk about is a page for every town that you serve. Now, if you're in a metropolitan area, you need to make sure that over time you add additional pages for towns that you serve in that area. So if you're located, let's just say you're located in St. Louis, Missouri, right? And you service the entire metropolitan area of St. Louis, Missouri. You need to have your primary services saying you offer water damage restoration in St. Louis, right? But then you need to have a service area page that lists every single decent sized town that you want to do jobs in, and that can add up over time. It can add up to a lot of different pages, but pick off the first 5, 10, 15 pages over time and talk about the services that you offer in that town. And so what I would say is that if you don't, it used to be you could just like keyword stuff like towns and zip codes and all this stuff like that. That's basically doesn't work anymore. And so what you need to do is have a service area page and a listing all those towns. And when you click on that town, it actually goes to a page that talks about all the services you provide in that town. And you'll see this on many of your competitors' websites out there. So this gives you a starting point of where to go, and you can expand on a much more advanced strategy. I'm not going to get into that today, but have a page for the important towns that you service and talk about the services you provide in there is what I want to talk about for that. The next important element on your website is helpful content. What this can be called is last year in 2022, late last year, Google released an update called Helpful Content Update. And basically, Google wants to know that you are an authority in your area, and that's how they're going to recommend you to the consumer that's searching. Google is a for-profit company. And so if you want to show up on the first page for services in a specific area that you're offering, when somebody searches for that, Google needs to know that you're an expert in the field and that you serve a specific area. And if you can clear up those signals, you're more likely to get recommended. There's other elements that come into play with that, but we're not going to get into that right now. What I want to say here is you want to have helpful content on your website to make it super easy for Google to know that you're an expert in your field. For example, again, if you're doing roofing, you want to talk about different elements of roofing and helpful blog content about roofing. If you're doing water damage restoration, you want to talk about reasons to hire a damage restoration company. And you want to have a whole article about it. You want to talk about common occurrences of water damage restoration. You want to have a whole article about it. You want to talk about flood damage restoration cleanup after a storm. Have that helpful content. Then that links back to your service page that you offer. So if you referenced before, I said build a water damage restoration page, talk about the common reasons, common occurrences of water damage, and then you want to maybe put those in a bullet, like overflowed toilet, or dishwasher or washing machine flood, or pipe broke, and then you want to do an in-depth article about that. And then when you do that in-depth article, you're linking back to the service page saying this is the service we offer for that. So that is helpful content. Again, this is a strategy that is something you need to build up over time. You can't just go out there and write 20 pages of content and not go out and do jobs, right? So just keep this in mind, that all of this is helping you compete with those people that have been more established, and clearing up those signals so that Google can start recommending you as an authoritative company that can help solve problems. And that's why we all go out to Google. Is we go out to Google for problems, for solutions to problems, right? And that brings us to the next step. Once you establish that authority with your services and the pages that talk about it, the towns that you service, the helpful content and authoritative content, then you want to talk about jobs that you've actually completed. We call these case studies. We do these for our clients all the time, and these are jobs that you've completed. And what we do on this is we take a before and after photo or series of photos, and you want to talk about the specific services and the location of where this job took place. Think of it as a problem solutions type statement. So here's the problem, here's the solution, here's the aftermath, right? And so you turn that into a helpful case study, and then you link that case study back to your main service and to your location page that I talked about before, and any sort of helpful content about those services. And so what this does is it starts creating a web for Google to clearly see the services you offer, where you offer them, and the actual jobs that you've done. And then if you are getting reviews for your company and showing those reviews on your website, you make it crystal clear for Google to understand that you are an expert in your field, in a specific service, in a specific area. Hopefully that makes sense. This was a long-winded episode here, but I wanted to get these points across that these are that next level of thinking and how you can compete with those companies that are more established. And if you're a company that's been in business for a long time and you are not doing these elements, you absolutely need to be doing this to maintain your authority in the market. And because there are many competitors that are going to be doing these things in your area, and they're going to overtake you. Google is all about making money, right? And in order for them to make money, they need to get people to come back to Google to look for solutions to problems. And if you can make it super simple for Google to know that you are the expert, they're going to recommend you to that searcher. For now, that's it for this episode. Hopefully this 2-part series was helpful to you and helped you understand those important elements you need to have on your website so that you can get more jobs and make more money. Go out there and crush it, guys.
You've been listening to the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast. Sean's not here to just talk the talk. He's walked the walk. With a track record of helping over 70 damage restoration companies and engaging in over 500 conversations with industry owners, he's seen it all. From digital marketing triumphs to the most ingenious growth hacks, he's got the keys to the kingdom, and he's sharing them with you. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, for more, hit the website at restorationmarketing.com. See you next time on the Restoration Marketing Secrets Podcast.